Here we go.
Are we talking about that? Or are we talking about Fat Joe? You know who I thought would be the greatest choice, and it doesn't seem like the most obvious choice, is LL. LL's New York. He's always got a New York hat on.
Dude, yeah.
He's and it's easy. He comes out and sings "Bad" and "Mama Said Knock You Out."
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because you think like, oh well, Jay should come out and sing "Empire State of Mind," but Cube didn't sing "Nothing Like L.A." He sang his 2 songs, which are perfect.
Right.
Fucking everybody knows "Bad" and "Mama Said Knock You Out." Those are on every montage video.
Yeah, I wouldn't have thought though LL. I wouldn't have thought LL.
That's what I'm saying. You don't think about it. Then when you do think about it, you're like, LL's the perfect choice.
Yeah.
They talk about pioneer too.
Oh my God, yeah.
Shit.
Hasn't slowed down since 1985.
Yeah.
He's still going, huh?
It's unbelievable.
I haven't heard an LL song in forever.
I'm bad.
I haven't seen, like, is he still fucking jacked?
He's still humongous. Yeah. Yeah.
That's crazy. How old is he?
He's 56.
Yeah, baby.
He's yoked. Yeah.
That's the shit.
Yeah. He's I went to see him on my birthday last year, and he outperforms anybody. He's so good.
Oh, here?
Yeah.
Nice.
At the Forum.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Best place to see a show.
So good.
It's the best place to see a show.
Yeah.
You been to the Forum?
You know, I've been to one concert my whole life.
Really?
One. I was like, I want to say like, I was probably 12, 13 years old, and it was a Madonna concert. My sister and her boyfriend.
Your one concert has been a Madonna concert.
My sister and her brother, or excuse me, my sister and her boyfriend brought me to it. But I mean, you're talking about a kid who's just, I mean, she was hot as hell. All I wanted to do was take those binoculars and look at the bitch's crotch the whole time.
Oh, wow. Nasty.
Wow. Yeah. Dude, I can't believe you've been to one concert.
Yeah.
We got to change that.
Yeah.
That's so hard for you and I to comprehend.
I mean.
Everything.
You know, and I think once my career started going, I was just always doing shit.
Yeah.
It's like going home was like, I was happy to go home and just I was home and spending time with the kids, spending time with Terry. But then obviously there's that phase where I was coming up and I wasn't going to break that stride. I mean, got too good at saying no.
Yeah.
I mean, literally, I said no to fucking everything in my path. You got to remember, I was just this fat little boy, and I wasn't. I had no gifts. I mean, it was all I could do just to be on the field in high school.
Right.
I was happy if I was on the field. So once I started to get a little momentum, that's all I wanted. So it wasn't like it was like I felt like I was missing something. I just knew that I wanted to make sure that I would continue to do what I was doing. I was so happy that I was starting to make progress. So I was like, I never even thought twice about it.
That's kind of my one thing with bodybuilding.
Well, this wasn't even bodybuilding.
Well,
at this point, it was just straight freaking weightlifting.
I see.
I mean, I was just building because it was like, I started off wanting to be a bodybuilder. I remember this vividly. So I'm probably 22. You would probably remember this when this happened. It was I had just finished college. I had just moved down here. So I went to University of Portland. And I'm kind of getting ready to think, okay, I'm about 260 at that point. I'm thinking maybe I'm going to get ready to do a show. And then there was this thing that hit the news where a bunch of bodybuilders got basically exposed for doing a bunch of gay shit for money. And it completely fucking wrecked it for me. I was like, I was just like, what is this? It was almost like my heroes.
Right.
Even though it wasn't the pro guys, it was the guys that were coming up. But it was just
I was going to say, is this anybody that we know?
Don't
tell me flex.
I mean, in those days, I mean, when you got to be a pro, you were well taken care of. There wasn't that many pros at the time.
Right.
But it just put this terrible stigma over it. For me, I mean, it just was like, so I continued my journey, but I wasn't so focused on bodybuilding. And I just kept, and shortly after that, I kind of realized, so I shouldn't say that. I'd always known, I was one of those dudes where I could pretty much show up to any gym and I could just wipe people out strength-wise.
Yeah.
And that, for me, that was a lot of fun. And so I realized, well, shit, okay, maybe I just need to start leaning towards the strength side of things. And that's when I dove into becoming a pro strongman, and off I went. And once that happened, then I was definitely not going to a concert.
Yeah.
I mean, we did cool shit on the road, a lot of when we'd be, we'd show up someplace in Eastern Europe and we'd go do a lot of shit as a group, but that was part of the process, But when I was home, man, I was doing what I had to do to get where I wanted to go. That's all I wanted, man. I've never ever collected a paycheck in my life. I've always done everything my way,
Wow.
Yeah, and that was part of it too.
That's admirable, though. I
mean,
love that.
Well, as I was so focused on what I wanted to do, and I just realized, okay, if I want this, there's a lot of shit I got to get out of the way.
Yeah.
So
now we start. We get you into concerts.
Yeah.
Well, I can tell you, somebody over there would love that.
Yeah. Let's go.
She would love it.
Make it happen.
I don't know. I've been to one concert and it was Santana.
That's actually a good one.
Yeah.
But I believe that I should be on stage, not in the crowd.
Well, that's a good mindset.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't realize that Carlos Santana is one of the, if not the greatest flamenco guitar players, in the world. He's a great guitarist. Everybody knows that. But in terms of flamenco, he is. And he never even does it. He never even plays flamenco. He always plays electric.
Yeah.
But
He lived not too far from us in Marin County.
oh wow.
Yeah. He didn't live far away at all. Yeah.
Maybe you can get him to come play for you. He's fantastic. He's he's done stuff with Tom Morello before.
I haven't heard that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't know that it was ever like an album or anything like that,
Yeah.
but he's traveled in outside of just Latin music. So, and that's what Tom Morello's like,
Yeah.
watching
How old
him.
is Santana now? Gotta be.
He's old.
He's gotta be 80, right?
He's old.
Yeah.
He's been around forever.
Yeah. I mean, wasn't he at the first Woodstock? I think so.
Oh gosh, I don't know.
Sure
I
he
was
was.
not even.
He's probably done just about everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's got a restaurant in San Diego, not too far from where our middle daughter lives. Yeah. Yeah.
I know he's great.
Interesting start to the podcast, going all off of the music. Cool. That's, I like
Well,
it.
yeah.
I like it.
And we're gonna have to, John. The more time we get to spend together, I go to concerts. I love going to
God, I
concerts.
love it.
Yeah.
I love
Yeah,
it.
Jay and I just went and saw Kings of Leon.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Oh man,
There's something like if
Terry
you really
loves
like
it. Terry
music,
loves that
yeah.
one. So, yeah, she'd be down for that one. Look at her.
yeah.
Well, there's something spiritual about going to a concert, and there's something. It bonds people and brings them together. Like you can have 20,000 people in that arena where we saw Kings. Might all have different worldviews, different political views, different religions, whatever.
None of it matters.
None of it matters. It's all love. You love the guy next to you. You're singing the words of the song. That's what's great.
Yeah.
So as a hip hop guy though, I struggle. I love hip hop, right? You and I go back and forth, but I have no desire to see hip hop live. And I've
It
been.
depends who it is. Depends who it
Okay,
is.
who would you say is number one live?
Oh man, it's tough. I mean, Public Enemy still puts on a great show.
Okay,
yeah,
I wouldn't have
I
even
love
thought of
those
Public
dudes.
Enemy.
Yeah, I mean, Chuck comes out at
yeah.
Chuck's 62 now. He's as good as ever.
yeah.
It's unbelievable.
Kicking ass at 62, baby.
So if you're talking
Roots
like that
picnic that I
time
went
period,
to-
like you'd think like Beastie Boys would be fucking amazing to see
Yeah.
live.
Yeah.
The Roots picnic was unbelievable. It was mind blowing.
Yeah.
I went to that in June, and the Roots stay on the stage. They don't stop playing for 3 hours straight, and they just shuffle acts on and off. It's unbelievable. Black Belt's out there the whole time spitting. There's a
To
lot
see
of
Quest like sit behind a kit for that long,
Oh,
his big
man.
fat ass, like
yeah.
He's one of my favorite
He's a
drummers, by the
musical
way.
Genius. He arranges that whole thing. Who comes on when? How many verses they're doing?
I assume that he was in charge of the show.
Yeah, he ran the whole thing.
It's always like when you have a drummer at that level, they usually they dictate.
I mean,
everything.
they're it's the heartbeat of the whole thing.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Drummers, a lot of times drummers are the songwriter and everything. The good ones,
Yeah.
you know.
But some hip hop live is terrible. It's just a lot of
Dude,
screaming.
Bro,
Yeah, it's really bad.
any of them I've been to, I've been like so underwhelmed.
Yeah, we'll have to go to a really good one.
Yeah. No, I'm down.
Yeah.
Yeah, the names we just kicked out sound good to me.
Yeah.
I'm going to see Thrice on the 13th, and I'm really
you going to
stoked.
see?
Thrice.
I don't know who it is.
They're one of my favorite
Thank
bands.
you. I was super to say that too.
Yeah, it's okay. It's okay. You know, we're not going to go down that. I have plenty of other podcasts where we talk about obscure metal. But yeah, no, I'm really excited about that. It's like right after I go on Chris Collins' podcast. So a great day for me. But anyways, enough about me. This weekend was awesome. And you guys, you know, you guys make everything better. And I'm just like, to have you guys both on this show right now is like, it's special to me, you know. Jay and I, we've gotten to know each other really well, and John, you know, even I started our friendship, and it's been fantastic since. And I'm feeling really blessed today, like really, really blessed today. And I don't ever even say blessed. Like that's not even my thing. Like who the hell am I? But yeah, and for people that don't know that are watching this, we have a lot of experience between the two of you. And I'm curious as to what your methods versus your methods, and how you coach versus how you coach, and I don't even know how to open that up, but it's always interesting, like because you guys work with virtually a very similar type of individual.
Well, I want to start right off just by giving props to Jay. What we did yesterday was really, really cool, man. It was like,
thank you so much.
Yeah, I mean, it was like, because I like getting into mindset with my clients, but it's really individual. But for him to take and run a room like that was special, brother.
Thank you, brother.
Yeah,
appreciate
and
it.
it was like, it was good at getting everybody out of their shell, because it's a lot of people are really uncomfortable stepping out like that. And everybody, by the end, everybody was just walking up to the front. You'd got them out of their shell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I try to really, stress the fact that I was not like this. I could not do this. And sometimes people are like, yeah, I don't buy that. And maybe that was half the room. I don't know. That's why I like when someone that I've known for 20 or 30 years is like, no, that guy wouldn't say a word. Like he was a fucking mute. You know what I mean? Because then it shows everybody what's possible.
Yeah.
I
try to
just
picture
be
that.
saying that, but that's how I was. And so to hear a compliment like that means the world to me, because like I went from my first 5 years of training, I was the same height I am now, and I weighed 147 after 5 years of training. I eventually got up to like 2.25, but that didn't, if someone said you're jacked or whatever, it didn't mean like what that means to me, because I know how hard that was. Like I just ate a lot and trained, and eventually I gained 80 pounds. But the other thing was a lot of work to be able to do what I did yesterday.
Oh man, 100%. I mean, like we talked about, we were, talking before everything kicked off. There's so many people that can go to the gym and eat right and do what they got to do, but they never tap into the mental aspect, and that's really once you tap into the mental side of this, the whole thing opens up into a whole different dimension. And to basically be able to lead a group, out of their comfort zone, or I should say, into being uncomfortable, because people don't want to be uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And I loved, I can't remember who it was, but the way that you position yourself, you'd say, hey, look, you said that your strength was a leader. Well, first off, you established everybody's strengths and weaknesses, which was beautiful. Nobody knew that was going to be held against him if needed.
Yeah.
And so the guy that was a leader was never stepping up. But you position yourself like, look, this is hard for me because I don't want to be confrontational. Humans don't want to be confrontation, but I owe it to you. I can't remember exact words, but you're like, I owe it to you to put you in this place to realize this is what you said you were, and you're not doing it. So, and that was really powerful.
Thanks, man. Yeah, just holding up a mirror for people.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and I like when you do that. You did that to me in a podcast once, and it does, like, it'll snap you, because like men aren't used to being told like, hey, don't do that, or corrected, or like like to stand up for yourself, even in like just conversationally, like. And I remember the first time you did that to me here on my podcast, and I was like, because you were like, yep, see, you're fucking doing it again. And like I'm like a grown man, and I'm like, oh fuck, you're right. Like, oh, fuck me, man, and to the point where I acknowledged it till a few months later, that I even said something at your event where I was like, I need to stop doing this.
Yeah.
And that has changed, in my opinion, and maybe no one's even noticed, but to me, I've been more conscious of it throughout, and I feel like my connections have been better simply because of that right there. Never let that go, because that's like one thing about you. Like when you snapped at, and I don't know, snapped at, but when you cracked back at Robert yesterday, I was like, yes, like he needs that.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, when it comes down to it, especially. I mean, as men, we all need that. We all need someone to hold us accountable, especially if we don't know we're doing it.
Yeah.
I mean, literally, I just made a video about this. I said, look, I count on my wife to be honest. When there's some shit that I do, a lot of times I don't know what I'm doing. She's got words that she can just say, and I'll just fucking freeze in my tracks. God damn it, I'm doing it again. And it pisses me off inside because I don't want to hear that word, but I need someone to hold me accountable. So for true leaders to actually do that to other men that are trying to be better leaders. That's like a necessary thing.
Yeah.
You know, not easy by any means, and it's even harder for the guy that has to become one with the fact that you know he doesn't even realize he's doing it. Like you didn't probably realize you were doing it, correct?
What's that?
Whatever.
Whatever.
Oh,
Yeah.
No, I didn't, and it was pointed out to me. And
and that's
I became self-conscious because of
well,
it.
and the thing about it is
Not self-conscious,
but a strong individual is going to embrace that. You know,
Right.
You know, the weak guy is going to make an excuse or be confrontational. The guy that really wants to grow, the strong character, is going to say, "Holy shit," and they're going to embrace it just like you did and move forward and become better because of it. And you know, we need more of that shit.
Yeah, people appreciate. I mean, it's a nuanced thing, though, right? Like if I wasn't who I was and I wasn't confident, and you couldn't see that there was love behind it,
Yep.
it'd be weird for me to say it to two guys who are twice the size of me. You guys punch my face off, you know what I mean? But like, you got to show vulnerability, that you're open. Like I, you know, before I would say that to anyone, I would demonstrate like I'm open to feedback. I want feedback.
Right.
I want constructive criticism. I always want to get better. You can't just do that. Like I remember years ago, I hired a kid to work at the gym for me, and I ran out for a couple hours. I wasn't there, and I came back, and the whole place had fallen apart because he's doing what I'm doing, like talking shit to people, but I'm doing it in a funny Jersey Italian breaking balls way, and the way he's doing it, he's saying literally what I'm saying, but it's so offensive. And I'm like, oh no, dude, you can't say that. I know how to say it in a way that's just funny. When you say it, it's offensive. You know?
Well, and even you're doing it in a clever way, and you know how to do it. But just the fact that you got to earn the stripes to have that position. You can't just read a playbook and decide to do this shit. People aren't going to follow that.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, you've got to, and that's the thing. You know, it's like when you're willing to do what other people won't, they see that.
Right.
And because of that, now they're willing to listen, they're willing to follow, they're willing to take that constructive criticism because they know that whatever it's going to take for you to get better, you're doing it or you're actively working on it. And that right there is like the foundation.
Yeah. And there's a path too where we all go through this. Like if you become a vegan, you become super preachy.
Right.
And everyone who eats meat is a scumbag, right? And then you kind of dial it back, or you don't, whatever. But like, there's always that kind of learning curve where you have to check your ego. So sometimes when you know a bunch of shit, you just want to solve everyone's problems, which isn't good either.
Right.
So you kind of have that. Like if you go through, like I didn't think about the word personal development for 36 years, which now is so weird. And then I remember the first couple years in my journey, I would preach and teach to everyone. Like, go fuck yourself. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you need to know when to do it and when don't. And Dan came up to me. I'm not sure if I told you this, which I really took that to heart. He said, man, I got to compliment on the way you showed restraint. He goes, because I could see that after you demonstrated the ability throughout the day, I could see that you would have a 1-second answer to 15 different things that people said, and you just sat back and didn't say anything. And I was like, honestly, that means a lot that you noticed that. Because you don't always have to, right? Because sometimes you're like, is it just an ego thing showing how smart I am, right?
Right,
You know what I mean?
Yeah. It is knowing when to step forward, when not to, and how to do it. I mean, that's something that you've got to practice that. You got to learn that. You don't wake up one day and have that figured out.
Right.
And I think a lot of times, like, guys get into personal development and they go straight from like personal development to self-righteous.
Exactly.
And and the other day you had posted something, about you were watching the game and you were like, "Don't watch the game," like because men don't watch sports and it's only soft dudes. And it is like this industry and in the world of personal development, it's like everything is weak dick shit. You know, like, oh yeah, like
I get up at 2 and I grind all day and I don't watch sports and I don't listen to music and I don't have any friends. It's like,
and I fell down that path.
Yeah, of course we all do. That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
And it's just like, when you become vegan, you get your protein by telling people that you're vegan, right? But I think it is like, it's not balance. It's just being a real fucking dude.
Yeah.
Well,
because I think the thing about sports too is just like a concert, it connects people.
Yeah.
You're there cheering for the same team. You're all connected. You're hugging. There's actually a book called Why Sports Fans Are More Connected, I believe it's called.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I mean, I kind of get going back to what you're saying a second ago. I mean, I tend to get a little sucked into being actually Terry. Thank goodness she helps me see this shit. When I care about somebody, I tend to want to coach just because I care and I want them to get better.
Sure.
And I have to fucking realize, Jesus Christ, you have to understand there's a time when it's going to be received in a way that it's going to do what you want it to do. And other times not the time to do it. You
Right.
know? And recognizing that is a big thing too in terms of helping people.
Yeah. Well, that's like you said, because you become self-righteous at the beginning, and then like you always hear about, I'll cut out all the deadbeats out of your life, and to a certain degree, I do agree with that. But I did that 100% when I was on this, when I first got to LA to reinvent myself. But then I realized like everyone's on their own path at their own pace, right? And like not everyone has to be hustling as much as you do, and they're fucking happy. Like one of my closest friends, he has a ceiling for his he doesn't give a fuck. He's like the most enlightened, happy guy. And you're like, why would I push him to get up 2 hours earlier? He's great, you know what I mean?
Right.
And then I have a couple other friends who aren't on that same climb as rapidly. But I was like, they're still cool to just hang out with and watch a game with, and we can just talk about hip hop. Like we don't have to talk about self-actualization. Like
Right,
you know
right.
what I mean? You kind of just realize that, and then when I was having this conversation at the gym this morning, my first 3 years when I would go home, I felt like I was a completely different person. But I would go home and be preachy and teachy to people. The other thing that would happen is I wasn't confident enough that it was all real yet, all the changes that I'd made. So I'd be flying, as we'd be landing in Newark, I'd be getting out the fucking barf bag, getting sick to my stomach because I said, I'm going to go back to Old Jay. I'm going to be negative, glass half empty. I'm going to get sucked into gossip. I'm going to get to my mom's house. We're going to be screaming and throwing bottles within an hour. And then I only realized a year or so later, you can only lead people by how you show up and by example. You can't be preaching and teaching unless they ask, unless they want it, right? But I was going home and trying to be preachy and teachy, and I was just getting sucked back into the old me. And then I this kind of dovetails into something else, but somebody was complaining to me at the gym this morning. I told you this before, saying like, oh, this person, my whole small town's all negative, and I got to get out of there. And then he started telling me a story about someone's talking shit, and I go, no, dude, I don't want to hear a story. I could care less.
Right.
I don't deal with negative shit like that. But he said, the way anyone, you've heard me say this before, the way anyone acts around you, gossips or doesn't, is negative or not, whatever, is 100% on you. You control that. So some people will go, Mike gossips all the time. Why do you hang out with me? Not around me, he doesn't. So I'll go, oh, Bill's super negative. Not around me, he's not. And then people will make assumptions, which I brought this up yesterday in a different way. They'll go, you know how you can't hire any good help anymore? I go, no. You know how blunt I am. I'll just stare him right in the face. They go, you know you can't trust people? I go, no, I don't know that. You know all Republicans are there? I go, no, I don't know any of that. You know what I mean? Like I don't assume anything about anyone except that they're fucking great. That's all I assume until you show me a reason that you're not. Like when I saw John, I was like, I hope he's the best and I love him, and he is the best and I love him, right? But if he showed me he was a dick, I'd be like, well, fuck him, you know what I mean?
Well, and I think, a lot of people are like, you can't trust anyone. Well, that's not true. Statistically, actually, you can trust most people.
Yeah.
90% of people have your best interest in mind.
Yep.
When someone comes into your life, they quickly find the place where they exist. Sometimes they're going to exist a little closer because they're that person that deserves to be in that space, and others are going to find a little further away. It doesn't mean that when you talk about cutting people out, it doesn't mean like completely taking them out. They just get further away from that inner circle. Mm-hmm. And then they, some people, of course, are just like, you're going to have to exist a little further away, and they may stay that way.
Right.
And other times they'll see, hey, they'll feel that they're away, and whatever it is, they'll start working their way back, and they start to understand your boundaries. Like when you don't deal with hearing people talk negatively, they'll start to realize, when I get up close and I start bitching and complaining, that doesn't work with him, so they'll stop.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and then you're positively influencing everyone around you.
Yeah, boundaries are extremely powerful, but you got to stick to them. That's the thing. That people make boundaries for themselves, and they don't stick to them long enough for the people around them to understand where they exist.
Yeah.
And then they don't work, and people say, oh, boundaries don't work. No, you just suck at it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Especially if you're like an extremes person. I am. And one thing that I've learned from spending time with you and stuff is to not be so much. I am like an all in, all out guy, and I've had to like really control that a little bit more. Now I'm all in on controlling my all in or all out. It's like fucked up, right?
I mean, that's what I was talking about yesterday when we were getting up and sharing what we're trying to, the struggle of what we're trying to, work on. That was it. It's like trying to reestablish, I got too good at saying no. So then trying to find that a little bit more of a happy medium, and we get so used to doing a certain thing, it's sometimes it can be a challenge. You know, you move a boundary and then it's like a default in a computer. It'll come back if you're not constantly nurturing that new position, you know?
That's always been my problem with hanging out with bodybuilders and stuff and working with bodybuilders. It's always been tough because it's like so restrictive, you know. And I get it's the lifestyle, and it's like their lifestyles not enjoy anything. Like, but then I see you and like you enjoy. You know, we have fun, right? But most bodybuilders can't do that.
Well, you know, that I'm not actively competitive anymore, but I still practice parts of the lifestyle because I feel good. You know, like, you know, yesterday I showed up with 2 Ziploc sacks of chicken breast because I didn't know what was going to be there, and I figured, okay, I need to make sure. I knew I needed to perform well for the whole day, and if I was eating food I wasn't used to, I wasn't going to be mentally there at the end of the day. So I needed to make sure. So some people look at, you know, they look at that as a negative thing, like, oh, he's a bodybuilder, he's an ex-bodybuilder. No, I just know what I need to do to be the best version of me. Yeah. And I learned some of that shit in bodybuilding. You know, I mean, when it comes down to it, it's like bodybuilding is just a lifestyle that you have to achieve that look. Well, you can take all versions of lifestyles and you can alter them to where they get you what you're looking for. And for me, it's more about, I want to operate at the highest level, and it's more here than here. Yeah. You know, and I think that's where the bodybuilding community in general kind of gets lost, is like what you're saying, is they're so focused on the physical part of it, when I think that's where, you know, when you take that lifestyle and you apply it to what really matters, which is being your best upstairs, then it's a different justification of what you're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you just got to, I'm all for that. It's like having those boundaries and those things that you do that makes you your best. Like even in breaks yesterday, you know how when I'm on. Like, I don't, like if you could see inside my brain, it would just be like burning. Like I'm listening to someone, I'm like, oh my God, I'm in this guy's fucking brain. Like I'm in the twilight zone. It's insane. I'm so focused. So when people are up there, even if I'm not speaking, I'm expending a lot of energy. And so during a break, a couple guys came up to me to ask me questions, and I'm like, bro, you know what? Could you just do me a favor and ask me that in front of everybody? Just because I was like, I need a fucking second just to like, because my brain is like exploding.
Like just recharging.
Just need a few minutes.
Interesting. Regather yourself.
Yeah, you know? Just to be your best. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, well, I mean, what you were doing, I mean, dude, you were giving everything you had to everybody. You know, and if it's like running around a track, at some point you got to stop and catch your breath before you take off again.
Yeah, no, that's something about Jay too. Like when he brings it, dude.
No, that was.
I mean, he always brings it, but yeah,
it was a great experience yesterday.
Thank you, man. Appreciate that.
Yeah,
the whole thing was really great.
Yeah. What was I just gonna bring up that I was having that conversation this morning? I can't remember. This isn't it, but we also were talking about. So I was telling him how you control and influence the behavior of everyone around you, and he was like, "Holy fuck!" The other thing that I forgot to kind of elaborate on when I brought up yes and with improv and not negating someone, I should have probably expanded on that a little bit more, because so many people do it all the time. Because humans have an innate desire, a need to be right. I think one of the highest levels of personal development is self-actualization is you get over your need to be right. That takes a lot. That takes a fucking lot to do. It could take 50, 60, 70 years for some people. Some people never get over it. But you're doing that, and you're kind of butting heads and negating relationships without even knowing. And it's so subtle. Like I gave that example of Matt saying, I'm going to paint the walls pink. But it could be something like I'm telling John this story about when you and I were in Jamaica jumping off a cliff in 1993. I go, so dude, we're in Jamaica in 93 and the cliff's fucking 60 feet high. And you go, no, dude, it was 95 and the cliff was like 40 feet high. And I go, dude, you just ruined my punchline. Like, I don't give a fuck about the details. I'm trying to tell the punchline about when your bathing suit fell off. You know what I mean? Yeah. But people do that all the time without thinking. I go, all the time it happens, and I'm so hyper aware. Most people aren't probably aware of it. But I'm like, oh my God, if you only knew what you just did, like now I don't even want to talk to you anymore. All the time. People do it all the time. If I'm telling a story And I go, so the guy comes up to us, dude, he's 6'8", and he's like, you go, no, he was my height. And I go, their story's better if he's 6'8".
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure.
I mean, stories always get a little bit better.
Of course,
you
of
know?
course,
and
yeah.
that's what makes them, because a lot of time you're telling a story to have an impact. Well,
Of course.
You know, sometimes it stretches a little bit to have the impact.
Yeah.
You know?
The simplest thing simplest thing you can do to yes and people, I should have brought this up, is repeat the last word that they said. So if you go, this is the best burger I've ever had. I go, the best. And you go, dude, it's fucking mind blowing. Like now we're heightening. That's like called heightening, yeah. And then it's great. Like if you go, Jeter's the greatest shortstop of all time. I go, the greatest. And you go, the GOAT. Like now we're all together, we're agreeing, right? Yeah. Like there's so many instances when I do that all the time. Now that I pointed it out, you'll probably notice it.
Now that you think about it, it's like everybody that I really like does that.
Yeah, I repeat the last word and bring it up a notch. And it's like, fuck, you don't even know why. It's like a little subliminal trick where you're like, yeah, you fucking just heightened what you'd agreed with me.
Yep.
But if I go, this guy doesn't fucking know food. It's a mediocre burger. It's like now we're having this weird thing. I go, dude, it's fucking fantastic. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's awkward.
It's just a side of life that you don't want to engage in.
Yeah.
You know, it's like going back and forth over the burger. It's there's nothing positive coming out of that as to where you like you said you heighten it, and you know, the thing it's an energy that makes the situation better, the conversation better, life better.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I have a friend who's an actor named Jay, and we'll do that all the time. I go, dude, did you taste that sourdough? He goes, dude, my fucking brain just melted. I go, bro, I just had an orgasm. We'll just keep doing it. It's like, about everything.
And that's a fun conversation.
Yeah.
Way better.
Yeah.
We're doing it right now.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
It's the best conversation.
And what you said a minute ago too was, before I forget, my recall is short here. I don't want to forget.
So is mine.
Talking about how people go, 50, 60 years before they realize they need to be right. Mm-hmm. And it seems like, when someone has really kind of become one with themselves and they're really trying to get better, they're trying to grow and expand, they're happy to be wrong. Because that means somebody's teaching them something.
Of course.
Well, I think actually that's like such a likable thing about people too, that I always joke about it and say and it's actually true that dummies are the best salespeople.
Oh my God! Yeah.
They get the best looking women, right? But I also think that they're the most likable, right? It's like like the Saint Bernard, you know what I mean? Like just a guy that's but because when you're explaining something to somebody that's dumbfounded, right? Like they love it, right? Mm-hmm. And now you're teaching them and you're giving them some serious value, and they're really enjoying that value.
Yeah.
It closes the best relationships.
Yep.
I love teaching. Like when I sit there with a know-it-all, I want to stab them in between the eyeballs with something. I can't stand a know-it-all. Mm-hmm. And I found myself
But you're great at that. You'll know something. John will start telling you a story about some punk band, and you fucking know it, and you'll just let him tell you the whole story.
Yeah.
You're great at that.
Thank you. But I also have learned to playing dumb or at least dumb blinding. It makes your life way easier too. So much easier. You get shit done for you. but for real though, it does make it more interesting.
I mean, you're talking to a know-it-all. Anything you say is going to turn into some sort of friction.
Yep.
If someone says, "Hey, you know what? 6 + 6 is 19." You are correct.
Mm-hmm.
Turns it off. It's over.
Yeah. Well, a know-it-all turns into a one-upper, and then you're just down this awkward path of I like what you say. Lose my number.
Yeah.
Lose my number, dude. I don't even want to. I had a know-it-all. I don't want to say his name, but I went to. I was buying a watch, and it was a really not important. I buy a lot of watches, but it was it was a really special moment for me. And it was the collectible items, and he just knew everything about everything. And the guy who's my watch guy, who understands how special these moments are for me. Him and I are trying to talk, and he just kept boom, 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 boom. And I was it ruined the experience for
Oh,
me.
for sure.
So he was like another customer per se. Is that right?
Or another salesman almost.
He was like, honestly, it was completely irrelevant.
Didn't make it us who it was.
Yeah, you're talking about like Michael Jordan, like cards, trading cards, and like, collectibles. Because I was in a watch store, everything had to be about collectibles.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, if the guy was an employee, your guy should have said, "Hey, go get a cup of coffee.
Yeah.
Get the fuck out of here."
No, it wasn't an employee. It was somebody
just the
that
guy
I
you were
was with.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh my God!
yeah.
Jesus
He just got a
Christ.
Ric Flair chop on my thing.
Yeah.
That was it. And I felt like that the whole entire time. And even you could tell the friction too, because my guy, he was even looking at me like, is this guy going to shut the fuck up?
Yeah.
Oh Jesus! So I didn't realize. I misunderstood.
Yeah, I'm treading carefully.
Oh, okay.
Okay, I'm treading carefully. This person was involved in my life and stuff, and not anymore. I had to cut ties.
Yeah.
Because it was the know-it-all. It was the yes.
You're fired.
Freddie. Put it this way. That relationship ending was the best thing that could have ever happened to Freddie. So, anyways. Now we're catching on. Anyways, yeah. No, but I can't fucking stand it. I hate a know-it-all.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's, thinking back when I was younger, so I started off extraordinarily insecure as a youngster, and I remember when I started to get a little success and I started getting strong. When I became stronger than most, there was a piece of me that was so excited that I felt like, down deep, I was excited and I was just trying to help people, but at the same time, I know for sure that I was being a know-it-all. And it was just largely because I was still so fucking insecure.
Yeah.
I was like, yes, I could physically do these things, but I was still the fat little boy inside that was totally, scared of his own shadow. And that was like, for me, that was like a way of becoming more of an authority. When in actuality, if somebody knows, human instinct, human nature, all realizes that person is, fucking quaking inside.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, but you aren't that way whatsoever. As a matter of fact, it's like a lot of times, the way you are with me, where like I'm explaining something to you and I'm like, and part of me, I'm like, how the fuck does this guy not know this? But but at the same time too, I'm like, you're always so interested, but I'm like, how am I teaching someone like you these types of things? And then it makes me feel better. It is by far the one of my favorite qualities of you and of like the people that I enjoy spending time with. Well, Jay, you're the same way. It is,
Well, obviously from that fat little boy till now, there's been a lot of distance covered, but I came to you because there's shit that I needed to know.
Yeah.
I was not fucking. I was very clear on why I'm here.
Right.
I wasn't here for me to teach you something. I was here for you to. Some of the like when we. I make the joke all the time. My business became highly successful in one of the fucking Stone Ages, dude. I mean, no emails.
Yeah.
I mean, it was like I told you, I was fucking writing shit out. You
Right.
know. And so we'll start working with Justin. He's fucking using all these terms, and I'm like, what is that? And it was even still, I'm like, hey, what was that? You use this phrase and it means this, and he's still filling me in, but that's why I'm here.
Yeah.
I mean, we're all, we all have our strengths, but there's always somebody that's stronger, and they have more strength, and when you want to get somewhere, it's silly not to accept, what someone has to offer you, especially when you know that they have a higher, skill set or knowledge set in that area.
How many know-it-alls and sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
I was going to say that's a testament to him, because you probably know a lot of meatheads our age that are still stuck in that mindset of like the ego and know-it-all, this and that and everything. So it's like it just shows that you've done the work and evolved and are continually evolving.
And those are the people in my life that just exist at a little bit further distance.
Sure.
But I mean, you get to a certain point where it's okay. I know what I want to do, and for me to get there, I need help. And to ask for help is something a lot of people never get to that point where they can ask for help, and then you hire someone that has some information that you need. I mean, it's so powerful now. I mean, we live in this time now where basically hiring coaches and hiring mentors, it's such a faster way of getting the information than going to school.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, it's like it's crazy. I mean, I always I giggle because he has to deal with the fact that I still want to use my fax machine.
I have a fax machine. Well, I have a printer with a fax on it. I've never used it. How many know-it-alls, one-man wolf packs are doing anything good right now? Or great?
Yeah, no.
No. It's so funny. You guys should see my DMs. You should see my DMs. It's bad.
Just filled with them.
Oh, fucking filled with them. You know. Oh, I'm just at it alone right now, bro. You know.
Well, you figure that's everybody goes in there. Everybody's journey takes its own path, and some people they never ever catch the clue. You know, some people never grow enough to see what can become of surrounding yourself with the right people.
Yep.
You know.
Yeah, where in How to Win Friends and Influence People did Dale Carnegie?
I'm reading that book right now.
Is that your first time?
That's first. I'm going to read it soon. I'm done and read it again.
Yeah.
It's crazy. I'm all about systems and ways that I can be efficient, right? So I was having a hard time. I read every day, but I was having a hard time getting the set reading time in. And I was like, I'm really struggling with getting my reading every day, and I get so much from it. So this is beautiful. So I took this book, I put it in the bathroom where every morning I got to take a dump. I had 2 bathrooms set up so one I go to take a piss because the toilet seat's always up. I never have to worry about the toilet seat. The other one where I take a piss. Yeah, it's perfect.
Very efficient.
I pee so often, I don't have to worry about it. She knows not to put the seat down in that bathroom.
Remind me to never borrow a book from them.
This
book's been flagged, sir. Remember that episode of Seinfeld?
Yeah.
Where George brought the book into the bathroom?
Oh,
But I'm telling you, it works like a charm because every day I'm going to be sitting on the toilet. And if I'm not reading, I'm fucking doing something on my phone, and it's too early to be stimulating my brain like that.
Yeah.
And so I can't tell you how much, because reading was like one of my biggest challenges. I graduated with a major, University of Portland, private school, major in theology, minor in philosophy, didn't read a single fucking book. It's because the challenge that has a youngster, we talked about this, so he remembers that I had to become a problem solver because at that time I was not existing. I don't like to use the word I can't or couldn't, but I wasn't existing like the other kids the way they did it. So I had to figure out, well, how am I going to get that C? For me, C was an A.
Right.
And so I went to college, and my reading level was terrible. So I got the books the first semester, went back to my dorm room, and I picked the thinnest one, opened it up, like, fuck, there's no pictures in here.
It's not a comic book.
And so I literally tried to read the first 4 or 5 pages. Okay, don't know much, read it again. Did it like 3 times. I'm like, I'm not getting much out of this book. And I realized, okay, I'm not going to make it if I have to get the information out of these books myself. So I was like, okay, how are you going to deal with this? Well, okay, so I went to every professor, and this is my problem solving skills. At this point, I'm in college, so I've got a few years of figuring out how to do it my way. So I went to each professor and said, hey, what percentage of the grade is from the lectures, and what percentage of the grade is in the books? And the professor said, hey, 80% is in the lectures. I'm like, got it. I went to class, never missed class. Stayed awake, wrote like a banshee. Because if I wrote stuff, I could remember pretty well.
Right.
And then there was always that guy that said, yeah, 60% is the lectures and 40% is in the book. Well, now I had to find somebody to help me get the information out of the book. But at least I was able to figure out, it became very clear what I had to do to get those grades. And that problem-solving skill is really what made me become me.
Wow.
And, like I said, I've never collected a paycheck,
So let me ask you this. How fast are you reading? Because if you're reading on the toilet, are you getting like through a whole chapter?
No. Well, I would love to get through a chapter every time I took a dump, but it's not happening.
So so are you able to read? Are you able to read without closing a chapter, like finishing a chapter?
Yeah.
And you can pick back up?
Yeah, you can. It drives you nuts.
It drives me absolutely nuts.
Yeah.
Well,
So my legs will be cramped. I won't even be able to get off the toilet. But I read really fast.
Yeah.
Right?
See, you got to remember, I'm the guy that reads a page and then I have to decide, am I going to read it again?
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Just for comprehension.
Yeah.
Can I give you another piece of advice then?
Please.
Listen to the Audible while you read it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, I started actually. My wonderful wife gave me this Audible list of books, and I've done some listening, but I feel like I need to continue to tackle my reading comprehension.
That's
through
the
reading.
point.
Yeah.
Yep. That's the point of it.
And it's crazy. It's like my communication skills got better. I actually became the better I get at reading, the better listener I become. Mm-hmm. And so it's one of those. So I have zero problem. Like I'm trying to think. It was just a few days back. I probably read one page 3 or 4 times. And it was like, okay, I feel like I got that now. I'll move on. And I just dog ear the page. But I could go. I mean, with my old system where my reading time was getting cut, it could take me months to finish a book.
Which honestly, the way you're reading, I think, is the way most people should read. Because most people read almost as like, oh, I'm going to read 100 books a year. It's like, okay, tell me what they're all about.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Most people read an entire book and they go, bro, that book was awesome. I go, give me the 5 takeaways. They go,
Yeah.
I don't know. I go, so you got to read it 5 more times.
Well, and even
what you're
better-
doing makes more sense because then you're going to absorb it and learn it. And then I think what you said, like if we read it and then an hour later you're in the car, put it on the Audible, and then it kind of just reinforces it.
Yeah, that's just living in it, a little bit more.
Well, and that's crazy part about books is you got these people that read all these books. Well, why aren't you fucking doing any of this shit?
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, yeah. Anything without application is meaningless. Faith without works is death. Like but I do like the concept of reading along with it because it slows me down. Because I'm a speed reader. I've told you I'm a speed reader. Yeah, okay. I don't want to get into that. I've said it in another podcast before. Have I told you that?
No.
Okay, yeah. I'll tell you off air. But I have an interesting story of how I became a speed reader. It's fucked up. But I like reading with Audible forces me to slow down and really get into it. Because I am that guy that'll read 100 books and I'm like, I don't fucking remember.
So you're listening to it as you're reading?
Yeah.
No shit.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Whoa. Okay.
That's what who I learned that from was Hermosi.
Well, because what I've done.
Okay, I thought you meant read it and then put it on later on.
You can do that too.
Yeah, I kind of like that because it's bringing me back to what I just read.
Yeah, that's not a bad way to go either.
That's what I've been doing. Is when I finish a book, I'm like, okay, I know there's some good shit in here, but then I'll start listening to the audio, and you can get, an hour, you can crush a lion's share of a book.
Oh yeah.
So I've done that, but not at the same time. But I need to be more diligent about it for sure. Mm-hmm. But. Yeah, I don't know how it goes. That whole thing was just basically kind of demonstrating how, it was like me just learning to solve problems because I was trouble doing it like the average man, but that turned out to be my fucking biggest blessing because I learned to do everything my way, which led me away from the average man, which, God damn it, thank God I'm not fucking sitting in traffic going to a job.
Right. Yeah.
That's, it's funny. That's how I do my accounting. Like I took like every accounting course in college. And then when I finally figured it out my way, now it hasn't landed me in handcuffs yet. So, but yeah, it was, I had to figure it out like my own way. Cause I was terrible in accounting in school, but anyways, that's not even interesting right now. So we don't need to talk about that.
The whole, my way, that's gone into because you were asking earlier, the segue was, talking about how we do things differently. And so much like I am built on my way. Yeah. Like I didn't, and especially way back when, Jesus Christ, you didn't have the internet. There was very difficult to acquire information. And so I was just, I just looked at everything like, well, how am I going to get where I want to go? So, I remember starting back in, it was like probably 1992. One of the things I used to love to do, I'd go into a gym, I put 405 in the bar, and I would just knock out as many reps as I could. Sometimes at that age, in my early 20s, I'd still be knocking out in the low 20s, and people were like, what the fuck is this guy doing? But to me, it was basically, I was, even then I didn't understand it. I was about expanding my mind, because getting in, I learned in my first book, I actually said I learned more about myself in a squat rack than in a place on the planet. Because when you're in that place where that voice is telling you that you get out of here, stop, and you just break it down to, I know I can do one more. Yeah. And you learn to become comfortable in that really uncomfortable situation where the majority of the population never learns to exist. is powerful. You know.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I would say, going back to your original question, I'd love to hear some of Jay's and how he developed your method and how you basically kind of sharpened all of your tools in terms of training and training other people and all that stuff.
I mean, I started in 7th grade. I was just a fat kid and then a skinny fat kid, and then I was obsessed with wrestling. And my cousin Christine started dating a dude named Eric Wida, and he was in some independent. He wasn't with WWF, but here I am, this little skinny fat kid, and he's 6'4", 240, you know. And so he got me started, and I started from 0 to 2 hours a day, 7 days a week. I couldn't walk, I couldn't straighten my arms. I was like, this is not working, you know. And so I tried to figure shit out through high school, and I graduated high school at same height I am now, 147 pounds, and I'm training every day for 5 years straight. I'm like, this ain't working. So then I kind of found like some of the old like super squats and like John McCallum and like Dr. Randall Day Strawson, Dr. Ken Leisner, all that. And then all that stuff. I started doing all that, and then I gained like 20 something pounds within a few months. And then Yates started winning. So I knew at that point, I was like, I can't read the bodybuilding magazine. That's not working for me. But then all of a sudden, Yates came around. He was kind of preaching lower volume like all those guys. And that was working for me. And anyway, so I went to school, which is funny now because I went to school to become a communications major. But I couldn't communicate. I was a fucking, I was a complete mushad. I never opened my mouth. You know what I mean? So it made no sense. So I'm doing that for a couple of years. And people are like, bro, you don't even talk. Like, what are you doing? You know what I mean? And so, but I got obsessed with training, and then so I would intern in the weight room, and then I got tuberculosis when I was 21 or 22 or something like that. So first I went to Towson State, and it was a really weirdly, oddly segregated school, so I didn't have any white friends there. And then I went to Arizona State, and they put me on the African Studies floor, so I had no white friends there either. So there was years where I didn't hang out with any white people. Which I'm fine with. I'm totally comfortable with. But a kid who came over from Africa had tuberculosis. I get tuberculosis. I didn't know anyone got that since Doc Holliday.
Yeah, I was going to say, what an antiquated
insane.
illness.
Yeah. So I'm home for Christmas break. I'm training. I do like 3 reps, and I'm like, I couldn't even breathe. But, I'm like, whatever. I just got the flu or something. I'll be fine. I train like 3-4 more days in a row, and I'm near death. But I'm still going to the gym. And I'm like, I should go to the doctor. So I call the doctor. They're like, no, we're fully booked. We'll just give you a Z-Pack. Back in those days, you just got a Z-Pack if you had a sniffle. So I was like, all right, take it for 2 days. I'm like, I think I'm going to die. They're like, all right, come in. I go to the doctor, like, you are going to die. You got to go to a heart and lung specialist. I said, can I go home? They're like, no, you're going right there. I get there. He goes, you got to go to the hospital now. If you don't perform surgery, you'll die tonight.
Holy shit.
My lungs were filled up with fluid.
Holy shit.
It was crazy.
So is that what they do? They drain you?
Dude, it was like a huge bottle of scotch. It was brown fluid, and I had to be upright for it. So they had to give me all these crazy painkillers. I was all delirious and shit. And it felt like they were hammering a railroad spike into my lung. The guy drains the shit out. And then I had to stay in the hospital for like 2 weeks. I had to stay home for 6 months.
You were close to dying.
I would have drowned that day.
Holy shit.
Yeah. If I just was like, I want to keep going to the gym. And my pee was this color for a year. It was fire engine red for a year because I had to take like 30 pills. That knocked all my hair out.
Wow.
But anyway, it was kind of a blessing in disguise because I was kind of like dabbling in strength and conditioning. And then I had all that time at home. So there's no internet. I'm just in the back of Iron Man magazine. You could order all those VHS tapes. So I'm getting certifications. I watched every VHS tape you could imagine on training. And then that summer, I started training people. I started training adults.
And how old are you at this time?
21.
Is this a fucking amazing story or what?
So I was already like, I think I'm 20. I was already like interning.
I didn't know this.
Yeah. So by the end of that summer, I'm making $3,000 a week, and I'm like, I'm not $2,000 a week because it was $100,000 a year.
But still, what year is this?
This is 1995 or 6.
Yeah.
Yeah, and as a personal trainer too.
Fucking insane,
doing
bro.
what you love.
Yeah, it was insane. So I'm like, I don't know anything about business. I barely know anything about training. But something just clicked, And so, and I always did everything different. Like people are like, well, if you're gonna do that, you should train 50-year-old golfers. And I was like, I'm not doing that. I'm training athletes, and we're going to play NWA and Public Enemy, and it's going to be really offensive and weird. And I just went against the grain and did everything. And I said, we're kicking people out. You got to try out to make it in the gym. I had all these offensive signs, like no pussies. And it became kind of like legendary. It's like one of the original underground warehouse style gyms. And within a few years, I'm booked 12 hours a day. I'm there. Well, 14.
So
I was there from
you're
like
not
6
even
a.m.
You're not even 25 yet.
Dude, at 21, I had to be in bed at 10 because I didn't even have a sip of alcohol. I had to be up and training people all day. So it just blew up. We had everyone from fucking every town around. All my guys were breaking records, getting scholarships, all kinds of stuff. It was just crazy.
Dude, what a fucking amazing story.
Yeah, it's really
all because you.
Yeah.
That's I love this shit. It's like the universe did that.
Yeah.
So you could do this.
Yep.
That's fucking killer.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then a lot of my high school guys went on to college, went on to pro, and they bring me guys back, and it was just that's how it was for the next 15 years. And then Alan Cos. So I went to in 1996. I went to a strength and conditioning seminar at the WWF building in Stamford. I met John Alvino, who's been one of my closest friends to this day, Martin Rooney, Joe DeFranco, and Alan Cosgrove. Do you know Alan or no? He's up in Santa Clarita. He's got a really successful gym.
That name totally.
He probably, yeah. So, and he's become, I think I told you this when I introduced you to him at my 50th, Cosgrove. And I said all the things he says to me and like how much it means to me. He had stage 4 cancer twice. We thought he was going to die. But he's always been like a super supporter of mine, like a fan of mine, always pushed me to do better. And like, I never want to let him down. He's only a couple years older than me, but I always wanted to do what he could do. Like he gets up and in front of a crowd, he's amazing. I said, oh, one day I wish I could be like that. And my friend John, who I met at the same thing, I was like, I wish I could do that. Now those guys say, I wish I could do what you do, which means the world to me. I'm like, yeah, I always wanted to be you guys, you know?
Right.
They're like, I told you, Cosgrove said, I can't do what you can do. I wish I could. And that's why whenever I'm playing small, he's one of the few people I think of, I'm letting him down. I don't know if I've shared this text with you. The day after my birthday, he texted me this long thing. He sends me these long texts I save forever. He goes, I was almost dead twice. I don't know why, because I haven't done anything bigger above and beyond what I was doing. He goes, but it might be to be here for you and to push you because you're capable of so much more.
Oh, wow.
Powerful.
Yeah.
I'll
Dude,
tell
I
you,
could
I-
cry
I-
telling you. Yeah.
That was
I'm
my
getting
first or
goosebumps,
second
man.
time meeting him. It was at your birthday, and I
Yeah.
was like, this guy.
He's just a great guy.
Well, he loves you. Like, there's
Yeah.
no question. They all do. They all do.
Yeah.
I
So
admire that.
that was kind of it. And then Cosgrove was the one who said, we would talk about training all the time. It's 96, 97, 98. He's like, dude, why don't you just start writing these thoughts out? Like, you're saying shit that not a lot of people are saying. Because I had so much experience every day in the gym being in there. And so I just started sharing, and somehow it took off. I don't even know how it took off. And then I started writing for Elite, Dave Tate's site, and then every magazine. And then I had my own, because I was basically taking skinny kids and putting 30 pounds on them in 90 days. So I got the hard gainer column in Men's Fitness. I had that for 10 years. And then I started. So this is where we cut off. So in 2003, Men's Fitness did a one-page article about me. Now, I had started selling stuff in 2003. I had a little manual that I sold, a physical copy, which was so weird, and an ebook. And it was called How to Get Jacked. And
Literally, how to get jacked.
it was called How to Get Jacked. It was like the hard gainer's guide to gaining 20 pounds of muscle or something. And so I was making a few $100 a month on it. Muscle Fitness does this one-page, Men's Fitness does one-page thing on me, and they put my website in there. Nowadays, it would do nothing if your website's today. But all of a sudden, I go from making $300 a month to $300 a day, and I'm like, I failed math, but I know $300 a day, 6 figures a year. Maybe there's something to this. So then I started really going all in on the online stuff, and then in 2006, I launched an ebook, and Craig Ballantyne helped me launch. That was my second one, 3 years later, and I made $25,000 in 3 days launching that, and I was like, there's a lot of potential here. So then I just, started selling ebooks and membership sites, and it just continually ascended and then kind of evolved, to kind of stuff I'm doing now.
I love the fact that it's like, in the catalyst was you getting so sick
Yeah.
this time.
Yeah.
I mean, because there's in so many people that have done amazing things. There was that thing that changed the trajectory just a little bit. I mean, had you not gotten sick, I'm sure you'd have found some great path. But that was like a sharp turning point in what you were in. These are the best stories. People need to hear this shit.
Yeah.
Because how many times have we seen people that they get sick and then they fold.
Right.
You just took that effort and you just shifted into, okay, well, I'm just going to gather all this knowledge, in what I'm doing, and look what it did.
Yeah. The reason I started the podcast 11 years ago was because I went into school in 1992 thinking I want to do stuff like that. But again, I couldn't at the time. But I was like, maybe I'll host a radio show like Howard Stern or something, you know what I mean? And so the podcast was just me challenging myself to be able to speak more.
Yeah.
And the first year on the podcast, I would listen to it like, oh my God, I sound terrible. What is this? You know what I mean? But it was just me growing.
Yeah.
And it was also developing the skills of being
Yeah.
able to have conversations. And it really did help a lot too, doing that, you know?
You kept it going though. You never discontinued. You like the same podcast today.
Yeah.
Dude, I wish I started my first podcast in 2006, and it was when we were on tour. I was in a band, and we would literally, and I wanted to call it Internet Pirates, but we never ended up titling it. We just would come on, but the reason we called it Internet Pirates was because we used to park our RV outside of people's homes and try to steal their Wi-Fi.
Nice.
And a lot of the pies we're like trying to be quiet, you know, and we're like, why are we
Got a
being
good
quiet?
signal. Everybody shut up.
Yeah. And it's like, oh, we lost it, you know. But we would pre-record it, so it didn't even matter. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I wish to this day, and anyone that's listening to this that's thinking about starting their podcast, like, just do it, because it's like it's so amazing what it can
Even
do
if two
for you.
people listen, you're developing essential life skills.
100%,
Yeah.
and just showing up and doing it. I've heard somebody, who was it? Gary Vee. Like, you don't even know until you're at like 150 episodes of what's going to even happen.
What is it? The average podcast makes it 5 episodes before they quit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
How could you live with yourself after 5? I mean, holy shit.
And you have to be diligent about it. I can tell you guys, like this show, you know, we had great success at first, and then we fell off. We kept creating, but for whatever reason, we just had bad advice, and and now we're like, I feel like we're starting over again, but I feel so much better about it now. I just feel like we're doing it the right way again this time, and we still.
It's almost harder, no matter what it is that you're doing. Like, if you're at the bottom and you're not having success, if you're relentless or whatever, you can plug away, you know. But if you have success and then you fall off, which I've gone through, that's harder to keep going. You know what I mean? Because like, what the fuck happened? And sometimes you might just tap out. You know?
Yeah. I mean, digging yourself back out of that hole.
Yeah.
That's a tough thing to do. And
It's like, fuck, I climbed all the way up, and now I got to do the climb again.
Yeah. I mean, and that's a cycle of life, man. I mean, you think about there's always the ups and downs, and the successful guy recognizes that, hey, the down is part of this. I'm gonna get my way back up to the top, but I'm gonna go higher this time.
Yeah.
And you got to realize that it's just the cycle of life and projects and everything else, and when you just recognize that's part of how it works, you just, okay, this is gonna suck, but I'm gonna do it anyway.
Yeah.
You know, I'm gonna grind my way out of this hole. You know.
Yeah.
But yeah, podcast is like, I mean, just to be able, especially like the one that I do where it's just anywhere between 15 minutes and 30 minutes, just me breaking down a topic. So the reason I want to do it just me is because I just wanted to be able to have that skill of just me and the microphone.
Well, I think it was you that said that it should just be you alone.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think everyone's like, oh, who am I going to get on it? And it's like, look, like, unless you have a network where you can pull people in, like, you should do it yourself. I made that mistake too of not first learning how to do it by myself. I was like,
That's why I think, like I said to Chloe, like, I think people should just have a niche podcast, and it's just the audio of your content. Like, and just teach people something specific, and then sell them something.
yeah.
And learning to do that by yourself, you know, that's a major skill. You know, to be able to take a topic and break it down and make it entertaining and be able to do it in a way where, you know, if you're editing it, you know, that your editor is not up all night trying to piece it together.
I think the biggest thing too is like, just like the two biggest components is like, know your why, right? Like, you knew your why, right? And then just show up no matter what.
Yes.
Like, really, like, honestly.
Dude, I mean, that right there, I mean, it's like me, there's never a time in the last 40 years, I have never missed a week of training. You know, training has been kind of like the foundation of me. And it's like, now, I mean, I train, of course I enjoy training, but it's like, training is not just a physical thing. You know, I train to feel good first.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, it's like when I'm done training, I mean, it's a science. The brain gives us all sorts of wonderful chemicals,
Mm-hmm.
you know. And then it's been that situation where you can get in a car wreck and it's okay. You get in a car wreck on the way to the gym, you're mad as hell. On the way home, you're like, oh shit, better call the insurance.
Yeah. Yeah.
But,
You know what I just thought of? Because I'm thinking how when you're doing your solo podcast, like you're saying, it's every one is just an extra rep. It's practice, and so I use it to get better at speaking in front of people, even though there's no one there. You're just practicing. So, the conversation I was having is kind of way off a detour, but we were talking about 10 minutes ago was when someone this morning was telling me I can't deal with those negative people. I got to cut them off. I go, no. Use that as practice. That was my reframe. I cut everyone out. Now it's a challenge. Now you go, yo, we're going to go to dinner with the most negative people. I go, I'm there. Let's go. Because now it's just a skill set for me to improve.
Yeah.
How can I take these negative energy vampires and turn them around?
Yeah.
Because if I could do that, I could fucking do anything, right? So I'm just like, okay, let me read the room. Let me see what I got to do here. If I can get these people laughing, not gossiping, not being negative, coming out of their shell, it's practice. Everything's practice all day, you know?
We have some family members, and I won't get too descriptive because my wife is right over there. But, there's certain family members that, okay, you have to bring into your world once in a while.
Yeah.
And it was a 10-day it was a stretch. It wasn't
That's
just
a stretch.
It wasn't just dinner.
Yeah.
And she was really fucking stressed out. And I'm like, listen, babe, you just leave me to keep them entertained, and I'm just gonna flip the script. I'm just gonna keep flipping it. And I don't know, what was it? Maybe the third or fourth day. It was pretty quickly. They were saying to her, God, it's so refreshing to be in this positive environment.
Oh, wow.
And they weren't saying all that goofy
So
shit.
great,
And
yeah.
when they did say, when they're like, I remember there was one who was telling a story about, goodness, had a sick brother, and I'm left to be the one to make all these hard decisions. I said, hey, flip it around. You should be honored the fact that they looked at you as the guy to make those decisions. It's your character that's valued here. And he goes, I never thought about it like that. And it's just helping them. Their habit of life is to look at the glass as half empty.
Yeah.
And they don't even know it's half. That's where they live.
Right.
And you get them to see that, okay, we don't have to look at that part. We can look at the half full part. And it's just that, your brain creates habits just like your body, But I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Right? But you got to go into that knowing exactly what you got to do.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
It's really good.
Yeah. It's the power of the mind is unbelievable.
Yep.
I think that's people look at the public, I should say, look at people that work out and they see, that it's, and unfortunately, probably a huge part of the people who do work out never discover that there's a whole other side of this, another dimension. But when you tap into that second side and it becomes more than just a physical thing, it's so powerful because you're supercomputer, so to speak. And when you're helping that thing expand every day through different types of activities, and working out being one of them, and that's a habit where you show up. I mean, you're truly getting better, not just physically. And now, later in life for me, it's here first.
Right.
I have no interest in going and busting up my body, lifting heavy. If I'm not going to gain here first, it's not interesting to me.
Yeah.
It's good stuff.
Yeah. But I got to say, dude, that was your story. I was dying to ask you that, so I'm glad we talked about it here, but about you starting off and the fact that you got sick, and that was like what an amazing story, brother.
Thank you.
Yeah, I did not know that.
That was cool.
That's really good.
That was really cool.
Well, they would say like a good business idea is solving a problem you had. So I hated being skinny, right? So I was doing that hard gainer thing for years. And then the second phase of my life was I hated being so insecure and social awkward. Like I gained 80 pounds, but I was like, I'm only 20% more confident than I was 80 pounds ago. You know what I mean?
I so know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Because I had changed here, but not here.
Exactly. Yeah. Yep. So that was the impetus for my move here in 2011 was to change here and here and, eliminate all those self-limiting beliefs and false narratives and just all the negative stuff and get away from everybody and give myself a chance to kind of, you said to a few people this weekend, you got to get out of your hometown, Mm-hmm. Some people may be strong enough to do it in their hometown, but And maybe eventually you go back because whatever, you have those ties there. But I do think most people are going to have a better chance getting away, even if it's for a year or something.
100%.
Just from traveling. Like if you go on vacation, you just open up different ways of thinking and seeing things, you know?
Honestly, I think even if like you've achieved a little bit of success in your hometown, if you go to the next town, or not the next town over, but another place,
Yeah.
even if you can make it in a mediocreville, then imagine what you could do when you go somewhere that's more abundant. For myself, like I was well known, very successful, but now looking back at it, I was fucking mediocre. Compared to like when I moved to Southern California and was around my people, around my tribe.
Well, and because you develop the habits that make you become better in that mediocre environment. Those habits come with you.
Yeah.
And then you get into an environment, those habits are going to yield more for your efforts. And then of course, the better we do, the more we want. And I shouldn't say more we want. It's like the better we do, the better we get, and we become more efficient. And next thing you know, we're stacking habits and seeing things differently. We become more efficient. It's an amazing ride if you know how to look at it.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
Guys, we gotta go. I don't want to. We gotta go. I'm like sitting here like
You don't have to.
We'll have to do this
we
again.
do.
How long have we been going?
Over an hour.
Over an hour and 8 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to end this, but we gotta just we gotta do this
We'll just have to have
again.
number 2.
Yeah, no doubt. I'm thinking of my wife sitting there entertaining everybody. I'm like, oh my god. I got everybody.
Well, that's good. 'Cause I was going to have to ask for a piss break anyway, so it's perfect.
Yeah, let's go up there.
Yeah. This was great, though.
Yeah,
Awesome.
for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Thank you, brother.
Yeah.
Pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You gonna come crash with us?